Good morning, Threshold. It's good to see you. Let's begin this morning with a prayer. Our Father in heaven, holy is your name. May your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who have sinned against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Good morning, Threshold, and good morning, men of Threshold, especially those of you who have the blessing of being dads. Happy Father's Day to you. My prayer for myself and for you is that we would follow after God as our ultimate example and our ultimate character goal as dads, that we would love like him, that we would shelter and nurture and protect and provide just as he does for us. And so my prayer for all of us, that we would be growing as godly men, particularly as dads, that we would be good dads, good fathers, as he is a good father. So happy Father's Day to you. And welcome to all the rest of you. I'm Pastor Jason, and I will not be preaching this morning. Caleb Snyder will be preaching our message in just a little bit here, but I wanted to just give a couple of announcements real quickly. As we get ready for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be gathering again in person here for worship on Sunday, June 28th, and then again on Sunday, July 5th. In those first couple of weeks, we're going to be trying out sort of what our routine is going to look like as we get back to it. And so just want you to know that we would love to have you with us, and we'd love to have an RSVP. If you know for sure that you'll be with us or won't be with us, that'll help us to plan. Getting the seating arranged and kind of managing our space is the biggest challenge that we'll have. And so if you would, let me know. I have heard from a few of you, and I've heard a mixture of answers, and that's why I think this upcoming week is shaping up to be a little bit bittersweet, because I recognize that while I'm excited for us to get together, not everybody will be here. And I do continue to look forward to the time when we can be together, and I trust that that will be coming soon. I have heard from some of you that you aren't ready, and that's okay. We'll continue to be patient with you, and I hope that we can stay connected through what we're providing online in these coming weeks. And even if it's just a couple weeks in for you to see what it's looking like here, we recognize that you're just not ready to come back yet, and that's okay. We miss you, and we look forward to seeing you when you are comfortable. I've also heard, and I know, that some of you can't meet with us, not necessarily because of your situation, but the relationship that maybe is one-off of caring for a sick parent or a loved one, or living with someone who is immunocompromised. So we recognize that for some of you, you just can't do it yet, and that's okay. Again, we look forward to seeing you when we can. We also know that some of you are not here. July is traditionally a heavy vacation month for Cincinnatians. It's going to be for us in a few weeks here. We recognize that some people are not even here to be with us, and that's okay. We recognize that not everybody will be able to gather with us on Sunday. And then I've also heard, and I think I put myself in this category, some can't wait to get back together. And I have a little bit of anxiety, not really reservations, but I want to make sure we do well with our space, and I want to make sure that we care for our people, and that going away from here and back into our homes and workplaces and lives, that we're safe, and that we don't become a place where people end up hurting one another. Even with those reservations, I'm excited to see some of you this Sunday and the next Sunday after that. This time apart has definitely reminded me that gathered worship and being able to be together as the church is a tremendous blessing. It is a gift of grace from God, and I will do my best to never again take it for granted. I love that God has brought us together. I look forward to when he will really bring us together, allow us to get back to our normal community life together. But until then, I hope to see you this weekend. Please RSVP for June 28th or July 5th, and I hope that you have a good rest of the day today. Men of Threshold, especially you dads, happy Father's Day to you. As we roll on with our worship and as you hear from Caleb as he preaches, I pray that God will bless you today. Love y'all. See you soon.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand. The moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. So my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest nights. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. Yes. So my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down and surrender now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. So all my life you have been faithful. So my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. Yes, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Happy Father's Day. It's exciting that this is probably our last week with me having to do this, just talking to a phone with you not here in the room with me. I'm excited to get back to church with you in the coming weeks. Morgan and I will not be able to be there the first week that we're back meeting together, but just so excited and so thankful for Jason and the elders and just the way that they've been praying. And I know trying to wisely figure out everything about us regathering. And so I'm really thankful for them, and am continuing to pray for them as they attempt to do what's best for us as a church and what's best for all of us as individual members of one collective body as far as our health goes. So I would just ask you to continue to join me in praying for them, as I'm sure that this has not been an easy season for them. So I'm really thankful for them, and I'm excited to get to celebrate Father's Day with you. I know that there's several categories that you might fall into on a day like today, celebrating a specific group of people, and I know that some of those categories aren't always good, and so I'm thinking today of people who are dads or who have dads. You know, we get to celebrate our fathers. Maybe you have your own children and you get to be celebrated as a father. I think of those who or maybe mourning the loss of a father today. Maybe your dad isn't around today to be able to celebrate him. I think of those who might not even have a relationship with their earthly father, who might not have ever known him. And I know that there's a lot of conflicting things as we take today to both celebrate fathers. Maybe there's some of you who are mourning today. And so I just wanted to quickly give a shout out to you if you are a dad or you're getting to celebrate a father. You know, today, hug them really tight, tell them how much you appreciate them. But we also see you if you're struggling on a day like today, and want you to know that we mourn with you. I was thinking that today we might talk about my guide to be the greatest dad ever. I'm sure that many of you, when you woke up this morning, were dying to hear parenting tips from a 24-year-old who has no children. I'm sure that you were just so excited for that to happen today. I think fortunately for all of us, there's someone else, a better voice than mine, who's kind of spoken to how you can be the greatest dad ever. And so that's who we're going to listen to today. We're going to listen to Jesus instead of me. Sound good? The story that we're looking at today comes from Matthew 20. The story that we're looking at today is a story that involves a mother, not a father, ironically enough. This is a story about two of Jesus' disciples, James and John, their mom. Their mom comes to Jesus and she's doing what any good mom does. She's wanting and trying to get the best for her kids. And so she asks Jesus a very interesting question. She asks Jesus if her sons can sit right beside Jesus in heaven. She's trying to get her sons front row seats in heaven. And Jesus' response to her, this really bizarre, weird request, Jesus' response in this moment is one of the most instructive and counterintuitive moments of all of his time teaching on earth. It's incredibly important. And it's a principle that we're going to apply narrowly today to fathers, but that is something that is meant to shape the heart and life of every believer. So as we talk about fathers today, we can be thinking for ourselves how this looks for us, because what Jesus gets into is he responds and says that there's really two things that matter, that really truly matter. So what does Jesus say we have to do in order to be the greatest fathers ever? What is his instruction here in response to this question that James and John's mother asks? I think there are two principles that Jesus gets to, and I'll read the verses really quickly. He calls the disciples over to him, and he says, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus kind of says, you know, there's one way to look at greatness and power and authority, and that's kind of the way that your used to living in the world that you do. And then there's the reality that power and authority exists in. And so Jesus really says there are two things that we have to have in order to be the greatest dad ever. One is an attitude and one is an action. These two principles. The first thing that he says is that the greatest must be the least. The greatest must be the least. And the second thing that he says is that in order for us to give life to others, we have to sacrifice our own. Okay, so we have an attitude, the greatest must be the least, and we have an action that in order for us to give life to other people, we have to sometimes give of our own life. So we're going to kind of dive into those two things really quickly together here. The first one is that attitude, the greatest must be the least. Jesus takes this idea of power that we have and understand and makes it irrelevant. He says that the Gentiles, everyone else in the world, the way that the world views power is as this hierarchy structure of the person that's on the top and then the person and people underneath them. And he completely undoes that. He says whoever wants to be the greatest must be the least. And he connects greatness not to position or authority, but to your heart. He connects greatness to our hearts. He says that greatness is dispositional. It's something that we have inside of us. It's an attitude that is linked to the humility of our hearts. It's really interesting. In Philippians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul will make these two really big distinctions about this when he's talking about humility. He talks about humility as the ability to look away from oneself and towards someone else. The ability to look away from oneself and towards someone else, and the ability to not idolize our own desires or needs. We are incredibly self-centered beings as humans. That's just kind of part of our makeup. We look out for ourselves. We are constantly told to watch out for ourselves and keep track of who's number one. And the Apostle Paul tells us that we should not look just to ourselves, but to others. And then he links this to the ability not to idolize our own needs or desires, but to defer to others around us. And boy, as a father, isn't that challenging? Isn't that hard? I was sitting and thinking about all of the things that might be pulling for your attention right now, all of the things that might be asking for stuff from you. Your wife needs you. Your children need you. Your job needs you. Your church needs you. All of these different things that are pulling on you in different directions and wanting and needing things from you. My, oh my, how hard that is. And the Apostle Paul says that we have to have the humility of heart. Jesus says that if we want to be great, we have to consider ourselves the least. We have to, in spirit, be humble. We have to have this disposition that the world is not primarily revolving around me, but that I am here for others. So that's the first thing, this disposition and this heart that says, in order for me to be the greatest dad that I can be, I actually have to be the least. I have to put myself at the bottom. The second thing that we see Jesus say is that in order for us to give life to others, we must sacrifice our own. Doesn't he get at that as he says that the Son of Man, he himself came not to be served, right? So the God of the universe leaves the place where angels are at his beck and call and comes here, not so that we can serve him, but so that he can serve me and you. Isn't this what he did his entire life? Didn't Jesus display this for us? Not just when he went to the cross, but in every moment. I was just sitting and thinking of story after story where Jesus is putting himself to the side. I was thinking about how he forwent sleep to talk to Nicodemus in John chapter 3. Nicodemus comes to him late at night because he's scared that if he talks to Jesus in broad daylight, he will look like a traitor. And so he comes to talk to Jesus in the middle of the night, and Jesus stays up to have a really important conversation with him. I think about how Jesus gave up his right to have his own house, to work his own job, to have his own family, how he forgoes all of that so that he can travel and preach the gospel and heal people. Certainly that's not prescriptive. He's not saying that all of us have to give up our jobs and our families and everything to do what he did, but think about the kind of discipline it would take to say, I don't even know where I'm going to be sleeping tonight, and it doesn't matter because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. In another moment, Jesus is walking down the street on his way to do something, and a woman who's been sick for over a decade stops him, wanting his help, grabs his robe, thinking if she can just touch him, she'll be healed. And Jesus, in the middle of what he's doing, stops so that he can help her, even though he's on his way to do something else. I think about how he spends all of this time with people, with crowds, healing them and preaching and doing all of these things, and yet he's also still somehow finding time to sneak off with the 12 disciples and give them the attention and time that they need, and he's still then finding time to sneak off and pray and do all of these things. I think about how he, in John chapter 4, risks his entire reputation to stop and speak with the woman at the well in the heat of the day. Jesus was constantly displaying and modeling humility and sacrifice. These two big things that we need as believers. And though this same heart and mind that I'm talking about is prescribed for all Christians everywhere, it's a principle that should be close to the heart and calling of every father. This idea that we can love and give of ourselves for our wives. We can love and give of ourselves for our children. And that in us doing that, in us loving and giving of ourselves for them, we are telling them and showing them what kind of heart Jesus has for them. That there's this bigger story unfolding on this grand stage where we as fathers get to help our wives and children understand the love of Jesus for them by taking it upon ourselves to be the greatest by being the least. By giving of our own life so that they can have the fullest life possible. And so if you're interested in or want to be the greatest dad in the world, you're going to have to be prepared to die. You're going to have to be prepared to give up a part of you to make sure that everyone else is whole. And while that's hard, and the principle behind that, and the idea behind that, and the practice of actually doing it is so challenging, what a beautiful story you are telling your family and your world when you choose to say that someone else is more important than me. Ultimately, Jesus is more important than anything, and so because Jesus is more important than anything, I'm going to become the greatest I can be for my wife and my children by actually being the least important thing in my life. I'm going to make sure that they are taken care of, that they have everything that they need, that I am looking at their desires before mine. What a beautiful story. What a beautiful picture you are painting of the love and mercy of God for them as they get to watch that unfold in your life, as they get to see you care for them in that way. And what a story it tells your world. As you look out and see the Gentiles, right? As you look out and see the world existing in this different understanding of power, you get to actively push back and fight against that idea by saying, no. The most powerful thing I can do for my family, the greatest thing I can do for my family, is lay down my own life so that they can have the most abundant life possible. And so I celebrate you fathers today. I hope one day to be that kind of father, to be that kind of husband. I celebrate you as you attempt to fight and be in that place. As you work and identify different places in your life where you can do that, where you can be the greatest dad ever by being the least. I celebrate you today. I encourage you today. And I pray for you today that you would be strengthened by God's Spirit to be able to be the greatest dad in the world as you give of yourself and sacrifice yourself so that your family can see the love of God. I love you, Threshold. You'll be in my prayers. I can't wait to see you soon.
Heavenly Father, you always amaze me. Let your kingdom come in my world and in my life. Give me the food I need to live through this day. Forgive me as I forgive people that wrong me. Lead me far from temptation. Deliver me from the evil one. Look out the window, the birds are composing. Not a note is out of tune or out of place. I walk through the meadow and stare at the flowers. They're better dressed than any girl on a wedding day. So why should I worry? Why do I freak out? God knows what I need. You know what I need. Yeah. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Kingdom of the heavens is now advancing. Invade my heart, invade this broken town. Kingdom of the heavens is buried treasure. Would you sell yourself to buy the one you found? 'Cause two things you've told me: that you are strong and you love me. Yes, you love me, yeah. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Our God in heaven, hallowed be thy name above all names. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us weary sinners. Keep us far from our vices.